Hey everyone, it's Joe. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are making something a little bit different. We are making clear Polaroids. So basically, I was scrolling through Instagram, as one does, and I came across this amazing post by this creator named James. And he made this amazing traveler's notebook spread with this Polaroid with like a clear center, and I was super amazed by it and got really obsessed by this aesthetic. And I was looking through Instagram, and another creator named Viva Labujo also created something similar, and my friend Alice also made something similar, and I thought, how do you make these things? So I naturally asked James what he ended up using, and here are the secret items that you need. Well, not so secret. I bought an Exacto knife, and I don't know if other people use this, but I bought this. I bought a WeRMemory Keeper's punch board. I'm just really lazy, and I didn't know how to make those Polaroid frames easily, so I just bought that, but you can just use an Exacto knife. And then I bought the magic item. It's the self-laminating sheets. I will leave a link down in the description bar below because that's what James has recommended me to use to create those amazing clear plasticky like inserts or like centers to those Polaroids. And I also got a cutting mat because I need that for when I use an Exacto knife to create cuts in paper. So like I said earlier, you don't really need this WeRMemory Keeper's punch board to make these paper frames. You can just use an Exacto knife or any other cutting utensil to make these frames. I just purchased this because I haven't bought any new art supplies or crafting supplies in like 3 or 4 months, and also you can use a Michaels coupon to get it for like 40% off. But this is not sponsored by Michaels or WeRMemory Keepers. I just wanted to try this out. So I ended up settling on using 2 different kind of sizes for the Polaroids. I have this skinnier one that kind of resembles the Instax mini film that's been popular for a few years now. And then I wanted to make the ones that are more squarish that resemble the classic Polaroid, and that's the one that I like the most because it is the one that brings a lot of nostalgia and it just looks super cool. I just am really into making a lot of those Polaroid paintings, and yeah, I think it's an amazing look and it's very aesthetic, as the youth say. But this was really fun. I do think that using the frame punch board was pretty intuitive after you've finished playing around with the little device, because I mean it takes some getting used to, but I think if you just play around with it, it'll become more intuitive for you. And I also wanted to make some just using the actual Exacto knife with the cutting self-healing mat because I wanted to try and see if I can get the same result, and they look pretty similar. I would say that this just took a little bit more time because I wanted to make sure that the width of all of the borders for the hand cut ones are all even, so I had to bust out my ruler. And if you're like me, I'm a little bit nervous when I handle blades and these like sharp cutting devices, so I'm a little bit more nervous, and I would say that my cuts are a little bit more wavy and crooked because I'm nervous. And even if I have a ruler or a straight edge as a guide for when I'm cutting stuff, I get a little bit nervous, so it's a little bit more wonky, but that's all right because we love a good wonky edge or wonky line here at Job's Journal. I don't know why I referred to myself in the third person there. But here's like the actual fun part. This is the part that I had a lot of fun because this is when we actually put the ephemera together. So I pulled out a whole bunch of these florals. This is a rose, and then I put a little actual flower petal, and then I used this little, I think it says not yours. It's from a sticker pack that I got in the mail from a friend. I'm forgetting actually. Oh, My Paper Projects on Instagram. She sent this over to me a while back, and it has all these like fun sassy quotes, and I like using them here and there. And I think it matches that look. It has that typewriter feel to it. And then I made a few kind of like line drawings using my mild liner and just like the scrap paper from making these frames. And I think it looks cool. If I could do this again, I would add even more stuff, because when I was looking at my inspiration photos, the one that Alice created had this like glitter in it, and I was very intrigued with that. I actually don't know how she made hers, but I think this laminating sheet is amazing because you don't need to use a laminator. But I would say that this was kind of a pricey item. I bought this pack of 10 for, I think it might be like $13. I think it might be $12 actually. And you kind of need 2 full sheets to make, I don't know, I would say like 5 frames. I made 4 frames, or like 2 big frames, or 2 big Polaroids and 2 small Polaroids, using, I would say, like 3/4 of 2 sheets. So I mean, I think if you used all of that real estate on a page, you would get like 5 or 6 Polaroids. And yeah, I think it's great. The one other downside with using this is you do get some bubbles, but I don't mind the bubbles because you are just using like your pressure that you exert using your hands. You don't have like that heat pressure that you would normally get when you're using a laminator. But I think these turned out great. I used a ruler to kind of get rid of the big air bubbles, and then I cut out the little excess, and I made sure to cut pretty close. At first I left a pretty large edge, and then they kind of looked meh, but they look more convincing when you use like, or you cut the edges a little bit smaller. And I made these other scrap bits later on using the excess laminating sheets, and I like how these turned out too. This other one doesn't really make sense because there's no like frame aspect to it, so it looks like I just laminated like sheets of paper, but that's all right. And then I had these 2 frames. These were slightly smaller. These were like the Instax mini frames, and I didn't want to use another laminating sheet because I wanted to hoard the remaining sheets. But I realized that I had some scrap vellum, and I could achieve the same look, although they're not as transparent, but you get that same look. And I like this because it's not fully laminated, so you get to still see and feel the texture of the paper, but you still get that little like transparency. I mean, this has a little bit more of a frosted look since you're using vellum, but it still looks so cool. I wish I kind of played around more and used more elements to decorate, because I was really just using a few like hand-drawn leaves and some stamps and these circle stickers from Classicy to decorate. But you can go wild and you can make your own that suit your own aesthetic, because you're basically just using a paper frame and like framing a whole bunch of like ephemera and other things in it. And I really like how this one turned out. I don't know why I'm getting my words mixed up here, but as you can see, there's bubbles, but I don't know, I think it adds to the charm to it. Like, Polaroids don't turn out perfect when you use them, and you get all these weird light flashes, and sometimes they turn out dark, sometimes they turn out light. And this is the same thing. You make these using the self-laminating sheets, you'll get some bubbles, you get some like wonky little edges, but that's all right. I think it adds to the charm to it. My favorite one that I made is the one that I used for this spread, and unfortunately I actually filmed this journal with me for this spread, but it didn't work out. I think I lost the footage, but we still have the B-roll of the final spread. And I love this Polaroid that has the rose with the actual flower petal, and then it just says "not yours." It just, it's chef's kiss. I love it, but like when you turn it around, it's not as aesthetically pleasing, and that's one thing that I kind of want to work on for next time if I make these, because you still have the back to play around with, and that would be super cool to have like a little bit of a drawing or like a sneaky little quote at the back, because you could use this as a tip-in just like how I did, or you can just use it as like a little bit of a art piece. Like, you can use it as a bookmark, or you can use it as a card. That's one thing that I want to do too. This would look amazing as a card, and the person that would be receiving it could use it as like a bookmark or something in their journal. And I just wanted to take more of these aesthetically pleasing shots with my camera, because I really like the look of like that clear transparent layer. And then the vellum is not as clear, so you don't get that strong effect, but it still adds that little bit of whimsy because you get the light and you get to see a little bit of the background peeking through that vellum. But I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you try this out. Please tag me on Instagram or use the hashtag jobsjournal so I can see if you end up making these, because I would love to see what you end up making. And I think that's it for now. I'll see you all next time, everyone. Bye.